You've been lied to about God, about reality, about everything. Some religions tell you we are all one, that we're all the same, that we should merge into one global identity. But history says otherwise, science says otherwise, and deep down, so do you. The truth is, we aren't all one, not here, not in this reality. Because when you try to force together things that were never meant to be one, you don't get unity, you get destruction. Take Christianity, for example. Most people think it's about salvation, love, and divine truth, but let's be real, it was built as a tool of power, a system of control, a way to conquer entire civilizations without a single sword being drawn. And yet, here's the contradiction no believer can answer. If God is all-knowing and all-powerful, why did he create people he knew would end up in hell? Think about it, this isn't some small contradiction. It's the core of the entire belief system. If God already knows who will reject him, then he, either, 1, is evil, because he created people knowing they'd suffer for eternity. 2, isn't all-knowing, because he doesn't actually know what choices we'll make. 3, the entire thing was man-made, full of contradictions designed to control people through fear. Now, before you jump to the typical free will argument, let's actually break this down. Because if we really have free will, then God doesn't know everything, and if he does know everything, then free will is an illusion. You can't have it both ways. But we'll get back to that later. Because right now, we have something even bigger to talk about. What if I told you reality itself isn't what it seems? That everything you've been taught about God, science, and existence is just one version of the truth. A version designed to keep you blind to something much deeper. Because the more you look at history, at science, at mathematics, the more one thing becomes clear. This world isn't random, it's structured, designed. And that raises a fascinating question. Who or what is behind it? The existence of a creator too perfect to be random. There are signs of a creator so obvious that ignoring them isn't just denial, it's delusion. And trust me, I've experienced it firsthand. Let's talk about solar eclipses, because this one blows my mind every time. The sun is 400 times larger than the moon, but it's also 400 times farther away, creating a perfect match in our sky. The result? The only place in the known universe where total eclipses align this perfectly is right here, on Earth. You think that's a coincidence? The odds of this happening by random chance? Less than 1 in a trillion. At some point, coincidence stops being an answer and starts looking a hell of a lot like design. Because either we got astronomically lucky or something designed it this way. The universe is too perfect to be an accident. People love to talk about science and reason, but let's be real. If you actually follow the science, it doesn't disprove design, it proves it. The universe isn't just here, it's fine-tuned to an impossible degree. Scientists estimate the odds of a universe randomly having the perfect conditions for life are 1 followed by 1 in 10 to the power of 138. That's a 1 followed by 138 zeros, an insanely small chance. To put that in perspective, there are only 10 to the power of 82 atoms in the entire observable universe. The probability of all of this just happening by pure chance? So absurdly low that calling it luck isn't just lazy, it's delusional. And that's just one example. The impossible precision of the universe. If gravity were even slightly weaker, galaxies, stars, and planets wouldn't exist. If gravity were slightly stronger, the entire universe would have collapsed in on itself. The margin of error for gravity to be exactly right for life? 1 in 10 to the power of 60. Then there's Earth itself sitting in the Goldilocks zone, the perfect distance from the sun. Too close? We burn. Too far? We freeze. And even that's not enough. Our moon stabilizes Earth's tilt, keeping the climate habitable. Without it, total climate chaos. At what point do we stop calling this coincidence and start admitting it looks like design? But instead of facing that, some scientists needed a way out. So, they invented the multiverse theory. The idea? The multiverse theory suggests that an infinite number of universes exist, each with different physical laws, and we just happen to be in one that supports life. There's zero evidence for this. Not a single observation, experiment, or mathematical proof. Even top physicists admit this. Physicist Paul Davies. The multiverse is just a way of sweeping the fine-tuning problem under the rug. And here's where it falls apart completely. If infinite universes exist, then there must be a universe where God exists, which contradicts atheistic claims. There must be universes where physics completely breaks down, making the whole theory useless. It violates Occam's razor, which says the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. And guess what? A designed universe is way simpler than infinite, unprovable universes. Let's call this what it is, a desperate excuse to avoid the obvious truth. The Mandelbrot fractal mathematical proof of infinity. You want proof that reality is bigger than we think? That the universe isn't just random chaos, but follows a deep hidden order? Look no further than the Mandelbrot fractal, because this thing changes everything. If you've ever seen a Mandelbrot fractal, you've watched infinity in motion. No matter how deep you zoom in, the pattern never stops. It repeats forever. And here's where it gets insane. This isn't just a cool visual effect. This is mathematical reality. The same fractal patterns that appear in the Mandelbrot set show up everywhere in nature. The branching of your lungs, your neurons, your blood vessels, all fractal. The shape of lightning, river systems, coastlines, hurricanes, galaxies, all fractal. So ask yourself, why is everything structured like this? Why do the same patterns repeat on every scale, from the microscopic to the cosmic? If fractals are infinite, does that mean reality itself is infinite? If fractals connect everything, does that mean we are all part of the same repeating structure? Fractals prove that infinity isn't just an idea. It's real, structured, and built into the universe itself. So either that's one hell of a coincidence, or it's the fingerprint of something bigger. This isn't just math, this is proof that reality is more than we've been told. Mathematical proof of the afterlife. You are already eternal. If you assign numbers to letters and rearrange those numbers, every book that has ever been written already exists within numbers. Now think about that. Numbers are infinite. That means, mathematically, every possible combination already exists. Every story, every sentence, every idea. Now take that even further. What if everything in the universe can be assigned a number? Every moment, every person, every experience? That would mean this reality, your life, your memories, your consciousness, is just one fragment of an infinite structure. And if everything that can happen already exists within infinity, then what happens when we die? Simple. We don't disappear. We shift. Consciousness isn't some temporary accident of biology. It's part of an infinite system constantly moving through different points in reality. You've been here before, you'll be here again. Maybe in another form, maybe as another version of yourself. The numbers don't lie. Existence is infinite.
This here represents the surface of life. Surface. And we see surfaces, surfaces. And about 300 years ago, scientists, they started wondering what was this wood, and what was this metal, and what was it really? So they start looking into matter. So this side is matter, and this side is mind. Mind and matter. And the scientists, they discovered molecules. Deeper they went, and they discovered these atoms. And like I say, they thought that was the smallest particle for a long time. All these things we learn about in school. They went deeper, and they find inside the atoms these little electrons and neutrons and protons. And they went deeper and deeper and deeper, smaller and smaller particles, smaller and smaller particles. They found 4 forces. On a deeper level, the 4 became 3. And on a deeper level, the 3 became 2. And then, about 30 years ago, modern science, quantum physics, discovered the unified field. The unity of all the particles and all the forces of matter, of creation. Not only did they discover the unified field, but they found that everything that is a thing emerges from this field of no thing. Unmanifest it is. Unmanifest. It is no hyphen thing, but all things come from it. Anything that is a thing has emerged from this field of unity. It's oneness. The scientists know this exists.
The CIA, astral projection, and the science of consciousness beyond reality. So if everything is one, if reality is just energy and vibration, then the real question is, what else can consciousness do? If we are not separate from the universe, then are we truly bound by space and time? Turns out the CIA wanted to know the same thing. In a declassified document titled Analysis and Assessment of Gateway Process, the CIA didn't just explore altered states of consciousness, they studied astral projection, remote viewing, and the nature of reality itself. They weren't just theorizing, they were testing and training people to access these states. The document states, in no uncertain terms, the universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest and some in motion. It is, in effect, one gigantic hologram. A hologram, meaning everything is interconnected, and consciousness isn't confined to the body. It can interact with higher dimensions of reality. The gateway process, developed at the Monroe Institute and studied by the CIA, is designed to synchronize both hemispheres of the brain, allowing people to detach from time and space. By resonating at a certain frequency, the human consciousness can turn itself into a tunable receiver, capable of connecting with other dimensions of reality. Let that sink in. The human brain is a receiver, and with the right tuning, it can access information beyond time and space. The document explains that using hemisync technology, brainwave frequencies can be manipulated to allow a person to leave their body and travel in what we would call an out-of-body state. But this isn't just mysticism, they use physics to explain it. Once an individual becomes proficient in the technique of out-of-body movement and then reaches the point where he is able to break out of time-space while out of his body, he gains the advantage of clicking out part of his enhanced consciousness while starting from a base located much closer to the dimensions with which he wishes to communicate. This means that in an altered state of consciousness, a person can actually transcend time and space, tapping into other dimensions, past, present, and future. Remote viewing, the CIA's secret tool. And they didn't just study this as a theoretical concept. The CIA actively tested remote viewing, where trained individuals were able to see locations and events from a distance, outside the limitations of time and space. Remote viewing experiments showed that trained individuals could obtain accurate information about distant locations and objects beyond the limits of ordinary perception. So why would the CIA bother with this if it was just nonsense? Because it worked.
Let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream. And that you could, for example, have the power within one night to dream 75 years of time, or any length of time you wanted to have. And you would naturally, as you began on this adventure of dreams, you would fulfill all your wishes. You would have every kind of pleasure you could conceive. And after several nights of 75 years of total pleasure each, you would say, well, that was pretty great. But now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which isn't under control. Well, something is going to happen to me that I don't know what it's going to be. And you would dig that and come out of that and say, wow, that was a close shave, wasn't it? And then you would get more and more adventurous, and you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. And finally, you would dream where you are now. You would dream the dream of living the life that you are actually living today. That would be within the infinite multiplicity of choices you would have. of playing that you weren't God. Because the whole nature of the Godhead, according to this idea, is to play that he's not. The first thing he says to himself is, man, get lost. Because he gives himself away. The nature of love is self-abandonment, not clinging to oneself. Throwing yourself out, as in, for example, in basketball, you're always getting rid of the ball. You say to the other fellow, have a ball. See? And that keeps things moving. That's the nature of life. So in this idea then, everybody is fundamentally the ultimate reality. Not God in a politically kingly sense, but God in the sense of being the self, the deep down basic whatever there is. And you're all that, only you're pretending you're not.
The invention of Christianity, a story of power, politics, and prophecy. I'm not here to make a video just tearing into Christianity, but I do need to call out what I see as fundamental flaws and contradictions. I want to lay out exactly why I believe Christianity is a man-made system, not divine truth. Some people won't like that, but if something doesn't add up, it needs to be questioned. Christianity didn't just appear out of nowhere. It wasn't some divine message sent down from the heavens. It was a product of politics, philosophy, and power struggles in the ancient world. It began as a Jewish sect from the Torah and Old Testament prophecies. The Jewish scriptures spoke of a Messiah, someone who would redeem Israel, overthrow its enemies, and establish a new kingdom. Jeremiah 23 verses 5 through 6. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. This passage describes a righteous king from David's line who will establish justice, safety, and prosperity for Israel, interpreted as a prophecy of the Messiah. But there was a problem. Rome. The Jewish people had already tried to rise up, and Rome crushed them. The temple was destroyed, their land was occupied, and their hopes of a warrior king, Messiah, faded into nothing. So the idea of the Messiah had to change. Instead of a military leader, he became a spiritual one. Instead of conquering through war, he would conquer through belief. The movement needed a new strategy, and that's where Christianity was born. The real turning point came not through swords, but through words. Early Christians, especially Paul, took Jewish prophecies, reinterpreted them, and sold them to the Greco-Roman world. The first Christians were Jews who believed Jesus was the Messiah, but Paul saw a bigger opportunity. He changed the message. The old Jewish laws, circumcision, strict dietary rules, Sabbath observance, were barriers to non-Jews. So he abandoned them, creating a path for Gentiles. Now, salvation wasn't about following Jewish law, it was about believing in Jesus, and it worked. Paul wasn't just preaching a new religion, he was engineering a movement. He incorporated Jewish prophecy with Greek philosophy, presenting Jesus as the Logos, the divine reason and order of the universe. He took the Jewish concept of an afterlife and infused it with Greek ideas of eternal reward and punishment. In early Judaism, there was no heaven and hell like we think of today. The dead simply went to Sheol, a neutral underworld where everyone ended up, good or bad. No eternal torment, no paradise, just a shadowy existence. That changed when Christianity borrowed directly from Greek ideas. The Greeks had Tartarus, a fiery pit where the wicked were punished. This became hell. They had Elysium, a paradise for heroes. This became heaven. Even Plato wrote about souls being judged and sent to reward or punishment, exactly what Christianity later taught. And then there were the Greek mystery religions where a divine savior figure offered eternal life and salvation to those who followed him. Christianity copied this too. So the Christian afterlife wasn't revealed by God. It was stitched together from older Greek and Jewish ideas, repackaged and sold as divine truth. Basically, he made Christianity universal, something anyone could join, and in doing so, he replaced the gods of Rome with a Jewish Messiah. Within 300 years, Christianity had overtaken the Roman Empire itself. But while Christianity was originally designed as a Jewish theological revolution, Rome saw an opportunity. By the time of Emperor Constantine, Christianity had become the perfect tool for empire building. Rome didn't need to fight this new movement, it could hijack it. Constantine legalized Christianity, but not just because he believed in it, because it was useful. A single, unified religion was the ultimate way to control the masses. Constantine saw Christianity as a political tool. Eusebius of Caesarea, Constantine's biographer, Life of Constantine, Book 4, Chapter 27. By this salutary doctrine, he, Constantine, united all in one harmonious faith to render the worship of God free from all discord and contention. Historian Ramsay MacMullen, Christianizing the Roman Empire, 1984, p. 23. There is no sign that Constantine took any interest in the theological debates of his time. He wanted unity, not correctness of belief. Constantine didn't care about theological accuracy. His priority was keeping the empire unified. The fear of hell, the promise of salvation, the idea of obedience to God. These were perfect tools for enforcing order. Pagan temples were converted into churches. Old gods were rebranded as saints. The Pantheon in Rome became a church dedicated to Mary and the martyrs. The Temple of Apollo in Daphne was turned into a Christian basilica, and pagan deities like Jupiter, the king of gods, were associated with St. Peter, while Mars, the god of war, was linked to St. George, a military saint, and Christianity became the new state religion of Rome. So, the big question, who conquered who? Did Christianity bring Rome to its knees, or did Rome hijack Christianity and turn it into a system of control? The answer is both. And that raises an even bigger question. Was it all planned? Was Christianity a deliberate invention, a theological weapon designed to conquer the world? Or was it simply a series of evolving ideas formed by Jewish prophecy, Greek philosophy, and Roman politics? Either way, one thing is undeniable. Christianity wasn't divinely revealed. It was built, created, and weaponized by men, for men. And that's why, to this day, it remains a system of control, built on contradictions, fueled by fear, and designed to keep people obedient. Who we really are and why it matters. Everything I've talked about, astral projection, consciousness, science, history, and even the CIA's own research, all leads to one undeniable truth. We are eternal. We are not just flesh and bone, not just random biological accidents. We are part of something so much bigger, something ancient, something timeless, something divine. This belief isn't new. It has existed for thousands of years across multiple cultures and civilizations. The Druids, the Buddhists, the Taoists, the Hindus, they all spoke of the same fundamental truth. Because if God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and eternal, what would he do? If you could do anything, if you existed forever, wouldn't you at some point want to experience limitation? Wouldn't you want to forget who you are, to live as something separate, so that when you finally return to yourself, you truly understand what it means to be God? Because I believe we are all connected. We are all part of the same divine source. We are all fragments of God, and when we come back, we can be anyone. I could live your life one day, you could live mine. I could be reborn as the person I once judged, once hated, once hurt. So why would I ever want to treat anyone with cruelty? If I am unkind, hateful, destructive, then at some point in this eternal cycle, I will experience that same suffering. This is why I refuse to take part in negativity, division, and hate. Because when I hurt someone, I am only hurting myself. And this is also why I don't believe in forcing people into artificial unity. Yes, we are all part of the same divine essence, but that doesn't mean we need to erase our differences, our cultures, our identities. True peace doesn't come from pushing everyone into one place, one system, one way of being that only creates tension, resentment, and war. True wisdom is embracing our differences while honoring the divine essence that connects us. You've been here before, you'll be here again. Maybe in another life, maybe in another world, maybe even as the person you fear, hate, or love the most. Because in the end, we are all one. But not here. Not yet.